Start. And welcome back to another episode of Talk Dirty to Me. Today we're joined with Patrick again and
Howdy.
his trip to America and his trips coming forward to America. So Patrick, how's your trips to America going?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's been a long time since the last one, and the next one is only 2 weeks and 2 days away. So today is Sunday here, and I fly out to Sydney on Monday the 20th, and then I head over to the US on the 21st. So
Right. How is it? How is your job like and all your days off that you be taking?
it's within my PTO and everything to do it. I think I'm going to be slightly out of or just out of PTO, but it is what it is. I booked this plenty in advance. They had like a year's notice because I had all these dates booked. I think I had to move it by 1 day so I could be in the US for Halloween. Because the trip in June, I made the mistake of not staying for 4th of July. So I wasn't gonna miss Halloween for this one. So I'm only there literally for the night of Halloween, but I wanted to be there for it anyway. So
Is this your first time doing Halloween?
So we have Halloween in Australia. It's just very dependent on where you live, and what I mean by that, like literally, like what street you live on. I live in an area that's predominantly older people, so you'd be really pressed to see a house of any decorations here because there's not a lot of kids. But in some of the new areas, I drove past a house while I was at work the other day that was all decked out, looked fantastic. Obviously, the big difference is Halloween happens when it's hot here. So it's probably going to be in most places in Australia somewhere between 80 and 95 degrees for Halloween. So
Right.
obviously, it is a little bit of a different vibe, I suppose. Speaking of that, that's actually a really good intro into our sponsor. No, not a sponsor. How screwed up is this, right? So obviously you guys are going into fall, which we would call autumn. We're going into spring.
Oh.
But we get something at the same time.
Right.
And it just works for some reason, but I think it'll it might blow people from your country to mine, but anyway. Our pumpkin spice comes out at this time of year.
Are you serious?
So we get it at the same time as you. So Starbucks, everything we get at the same time as you.
Right.
But it's the opposite weather pattern. So we're getting it as it's getting hotter, and you're getting it as it's getting colder.
Yeah, we definitely do. We definitely do get it when it's colder.
That's just randomly, like while I was making a coffee before we got started, I was like, I should say that pumpkin spice comes out here now.
So, and that's your sponsor. Your sponsor is pumpkin spice now.
Yeah, the sponsor is pumpkin spice. I'm going to dye myself orange.
You're getting paid to you're getting paid by pumpkin spice now.
I'm getting paid by the pumpkin growers of America, I
think. Yeah, I mean it's awesome though. I mean, like so you're enjoying your trips coming to America, and it even has you wanting to move to America, right?
Yeah, so hopefully it's we've got some stuff to nut out, but we're doing our best. You have to bear with me 1 second. I'm sorry.
You're good.
You have to bear with me. Something else that we do have in Australia as well.
Amazon.
Yeah. It's not mine.
Hopefully they
wasn't expecting that till the start. Do you find that a lot of your Amazon stuff comes like really late in the day?
Not. I mean, I guess it depends on when we get it. sometimes we'll get it like really early in the morning, but most of the time, yeah, it's like after like 12 or it's after like
Yeah.
3 or 4. We usually
That'd
get it.
be you would have a lot of flex drivers as well, yeah, like the people that go and pick up, yeah,
Yeah,
because usually like a lot of our stuff seems to come at like between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night.
yeah,
But I suppose because it's Sunday today, that's why it's come now. So anyway,
right,
um, yeah, so still a lot of stuff to go through, but we're making the inroads as best that we can. Ideally, everything all going well would be sort of in that later first the later first half of next year.
right,
But yeah, it's this will be my third trip over this year. And yeah, it gets a little bit better each time. So
right. And yeah, and you're enjoying it too, so that's a big
yeah,
thing.
I love it. Love it. It's look, and it's I was actually talking to a lady yesterday who saw my I was wearing a hat that I was given by a friend. Um, Shot just because it's got a particular company on it, but it's got an American flag on the front of it. And she's like, "Oh, are you American?" I said, "No, no, no." And she's like, uh, she's from Texas and she lives here. Her partner's Australian, and she said, "Oh, you've been traveling over there recently?" And anyway, just very chatty, like pretty much I've found all Americans to be very happy to just have a chat. Um, and and she said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "We're actually going to be moving back over as well." And I was interested to hear that because it's sort of if you took the vibe from, I suppose, the media and the general populace, you'd probably not expect that. But she's not a particular fan of your current president, but she said, cost of living here, which is my biggest thing of everything. Out of everything, the cost of living is the number one sort of driver. But cost of living, schooling, and things like that. And we got on to talking about housing. So they've just released a new government program here, which on its face value seems very sensible,
Right,
which is they're allowing people to buy a house with a 5% deposit. So in Australia, the general thing is that you need to have 20% deposit to buy a house. But you also have to understand that now the average house price across most of the cities is anywhere between about 850 and 1.2 million dollars. So obviously 20% of that is you basically need 200 grand to have
right,
a 20% deposit. Um, there's two things though. There's two problems with this. The first is we don't have enough houses in Australia. Like it's not even it's not exaggerating. We had, I think, anyone's welcome to correct the numbers, but that's why I'm saying that they're only like around about numbers. But we built 180,000 houses last year, but we brought in 500,000 people
huh,
in through immigration. So we're just simply not building houses fast enough to house everyone. And it's not whether you're talking about like rental accommodation or like or owning them. It doesn't. We just don't have enough housing stock. Um, so that doesn't help. Obviously, giving people an easier into the market is not helping with the amount of houses, like the physical amount of houses. But the other thing is, of course, is it's making the houses that are already there really expensive. Um, so there's a few different ads that people have put up that in a week houses have gone up by $100,000 in 1 week.
damn, that's crazy.
Um, Again, that's not typical. I'm not here saying that's every house, but that's not typical, but it has happened.
Right,
The other problem is though, and it probably like in my actual example, the house next door to us just sold 2 weeks ago for $715,000. It's a very modest 1960s built 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom house. I'm in the outer suburbs of a capital city. It's what would traditionally be known as a pretty average area, like in terms of not not being a desirable area, we'll put it that way.
Right.
I physically, and I earn over six figures. I physically couldn't afford the mortgage on that house.
Right.
Like, just could not
Right.
afford a mortgage on that house. So the bank would not approve a mortgage that size for me to buy. So that's one of the biggest driving factors, and that's what I was discussing with this lady yesterday. Was that, it's pretty much out of control. I know people that are, there's even guys at work that earn good money. Their partner earns good money, and they still can't physically buy a house because they can't get a mortgage approved for what a house costs.
Right. That's crazy,
So
man. So like it's just like almost impossible to own anything there.
you would have to both be earning sort of in that $120,000-$130,000 bracket. So you'd have to have a basically combined income of about $250,000 a year in order to service a loan of say $800,000, which is below the average of the cities. And people immediately say, well, why do you have to live in a city? If you know the geography of Australia, most of the population live within the metro the metro area.
Right.
We don't we have some. It's not saying that we have no places that are outside of the cities, but obviously they come with limited employment opportunities, limited schooling facilities, everything, health facilities. So you do have to live within about an hour to an hour and a half of a capital city for most people.
Right.
Not everyone, but for most people. And so again, to get to be able to buy a house in those areas where unless you want to have a 3-hour commute to work, you need to be earning that money, and those jobs are not.
Yeah, they're hard to
There's
get.
plenty of jobs that don't pay anywhere near that amount of money.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
basically, you'd have to go to college, graduate, and become like a doctor or something.
that doesn't guarantee, unless you're going as like a doctor, a lawyer, a
Yeah.
dentist, or something like that.
That's
A lot of trades. Sorry, go on.
That's the crazy part is you actually have to be going for a doctor or something like that just
Yeah, there's a lot of jobs that will pay that much, but they're jobs that not everyone can do. So not everyone can be a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter or something like that. So those jobs are there, but obviously not everyone wants to do those jobs. Not everyone's capable of doing those jobs. Same as not everyone can do our job. It's not saying that our job is our job is not extraordinarily difficult, but not everyone can do it.
Right. Right.
That's the reality is from a physical standpoint, from a capability of getting your head around what we do. Not everyone can do it. Some people. There has to be people work in supermarkets. There has to be people work in restaurants. There has to be people who are cleaners. There has to be people who work on farms and everything like that, and they're just simply never going to earn that sort of money.
Yeah. Right. Right. And that's crazy. Like to think you can work your whole life but never own your own thing. So
Yeah, that's we are very, very quickly becoming. Yeah, it's not uncommon in Europe to never own your house, but the issue is that in order for that to work, you have to have laws that enable people to rent sustainably long term in one place. So in a lot of places in Europe, you can rent the same house for 30 years.
right.
They have limits on how much they can put the rent up. They have standards on, that the house must meet these standards to be able to be a rented house, etc. The problem we have is that we haven't caught up to those laws, but they are not. I'm not one of those people who sits there and goes, the government wants this. But
Right.
what
Right.
I'm saying, if the government is willing to concede that this is how it's going, the laws need to change in line with the progression of of it moving from an owner's market to a renter's market.
Right. Right. That's crazy though. It's just crazy to think, man. It's just crazy, you know. At least in America, you can possibly get a house, you know. And
Oh, look, it's fascinating. Again, I was talking to one of my colleagues about this the other day. In that the we talked about it like last time, but I could talk about it again and again. But the way that America is spread out. So again, landmass, for those that don't know, landmass of contiguous states, USA and Australia, is actually about the same. So like if you superimpose one map over the other, it's very similar.
right,
Our population is about 28 million. Your population is like 360 million. Um, the difference though is that you didn't draw like a big line around the outside of the coastline and go, okay, this is where we're putting all the cities and we're going to have nothing in the middle of the country.
right,
Australia has effectively done that. And again, it's not one government, it's successive, it's government after government after government after government that has refused to build cities outside of the existing cities. So there is, I'm not saying there's none at all, but we don't have a city, I think, of probably more than about, I'm going to say more than about 250,000 people outside of one of the other major cities. That's where we've created a big problem for ourselves, is that there's a thing you can do called a light map, and it shows you like a satellite photo at night of, so you can see where the population
yeah,
sits. If you
yeah.
have a look in Australia, it's basically like an outline of the west coast going all the way up the east coast, and that's it. There's nothing in the middle. It's just completely dark.
So
If you
why?
had a look at America, there's lights all over the
Everywhere.
whole country.
Yeah. So why though? But why would they? Is it because of the ocean?
I think originally, like obviously, Australia's about 100 years younger than America, and I think that they made the decision to have basically the cities near the sea so that they can, like, so for ports.
Yeah, import export.
Obviously, again, that was fine, that was suitable at the time, but as you got rail transport, like Australia has quite a not a very good passenger rail network, but we have quite a good cargo rail network that could easily have been expanded, especially at the time when building rail was like a big thing. A lot of our rail was built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. That should have been built to run, railway lines, 200 miles out of capital cities. Then we could have had a city, 200, 200 miles out of this city, 200 miles out of that city, etc., etc. But we'd never done that. And
Right.
there's always talk about it, but there's never been any real action on building other cities in Australia. The other issue that we've got is we're no longer really a manufacturing country. I don't really have a problem with that because we just don't. The size of the population, apart from obviously like food and stuff like that, we can't build cars here anymore because there's not enough. Like at 28 million people, is not enough to build cars for unless everyone's going to buy one of those cars, and you couldn't build a car that's going to make everyone happy type thing.
Yeah.
So the issue is then if you build these cities, where are the people that live in them going to work?
Right.
Like
What are they
we've
gonna do?
become an increasingly sort of we are a little bit of a tech hub. We do a lot of food production and stuff like that. But what are you going to put in these cities to employ people?
Right.
So yeah, it's complicated. There's no easy answer, but I don't think that what they are doing is it's not constructive. Um, you know, it's not constructive and it's not helping, and that's why you know, um, you've got a lot of people. A lot of people are choosing to either return back to countries that they're originally from, or you're have people that are looking to leave Australia like on a permanent basis.
Right. Right. And you're one of the ones that's looking to leave.
Yeah, and look, it's not. Don't get me wrong. every country has a lot of problems. Like every country has. I don't think there's a country that you can put your finger on and go, you know what, they've got everything right. You know, there's some are worse than others, some are better than others. I have to look at, you know, what's going to be better for me in the long term, and Australia is just not it. I don't see. I'm not saying that the country is beyond redemption by any measure, but I don't see in any sort of short to medium term that there's going to be any appetite to fix what's going on.
Yeah. Dang. But so, your move date, have you got that down in stone yet, or are you still working on it?
So it's all going to come down. There's too much to sort of, as I said, hopefully in that later half of the sorry, the later half of the first half of next year.
Right.
But it is like, yeah, until I'm sort of going to have maybe about 2 to 3 months notice, I think, from what I understand of everything, to be able to nut that out. But at the moment, that's, yeah, I don't have anything more concrete than that. The reality is though, like, I'll be traveling over until the move happens. So like, I'll be making active trips over. But yeah, so at this stage, can't give you that one.
Can't give me a time, yeah. So are you liking like our government and stuff, and what, like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, look, I'm definitely, like anyone that knows me, I definitely align significantly more on a conservative, you know, conservative side. I think again that no government gets everything right.
Right.
I think though, the reality is, you know, you only have to look at the results. Results speak everything. You
Right.
know, I know one of the things that Trump said is, you know, our revenge is going to be our success. And I think that, you know, you have a look at, some things have not happened at the speed people would like. Some things have not happened the way that we'd like. But the reality is, you know, you're from a border perspective, you can't say that he hasn't done exactly what he said with that. You know, he said we're going to fix the border problem, and you know, it's basically been an immediate fix.
Yeah.
You know, I think the biggest thing that is sort of an, an example for me anyway, and I think it's changed a lot of people's opinion, is what happened there just a couple of weeks ago, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Hmm.
Um, whether you liked the person or not, I think the reactions from one side to the other side is a I think that's a big problem for the Democrats.
Yeah.
That's my answer. And again, I think, I'm not saying, like, there is some, you know, really sane people on the left. It's not as many of them, it seems. But for someone, you know, they always talk about, you know, people with skeletons in their closet and everything like that. You have someone who, as a gay man, who I never once looked at him and thought, "Wow, he's being an ass."
Right.
You know, the most he could have the most, you know, standoffish and most, you know, arrogant people stand up in front of them, and he still gave them the utmost respect. And to have people celebrating him being assassinated and thinking it was funny, and you know, that's horrible. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, it's just horrible. It's evil. And I think that's been a really big problem. Like, I'm relatively active on X in terms of, like, as a viewer more than as a participant, so to speak.
Right. Right.
But I um it was kind of seeing, like, the best and the worst of humanity all just, like, collide into one. And you know, you had people on the right that were going to church. You know, like, I bought my first Bible a week ago. I went to a Christian school. I've been through a few phases of what I would call myself, but I was like, I actually want to read more. I want to have revisit this, if you will. And I think then so you see on one side the response is, people going to church, people, um, writing how it hit them and all these things. And on the other side, you see people laughing about it and
Partying.
teasing people and just being ghouls. And it's like, I don't think you should probably be leaning into this, like I think you should probably be just standing up there and going, you know what? Political violence is awful. This is an awful situation. And then just shut your mouth.
Yeah.
It's kind of the, if you have nothing nice to say, then don't say anything at all type situations. And I think that's a big problem for for the Democrats, because that's not how a lot of people. Again, I'm not saying that there was plenty of people that did say the right thing or chose to stay quiet, but there was a lot of people who are very influential on that side that chose not to act like a civil person, and that's not good. It's not good.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely bad. And like we had a podcast on this actually, and spoke about it. You should never be happy for someone's death. You know what I'm saying? Someone's death is the guy just the guy's kids just lost a father, the wife
Yeah.
just lost a husband, and it's terrible. So there should be no
I
party.
think I think the I think if you were talking about someone, I agree with what you're saying, but I think it can be a little bit more rationalized when you're talking about someone who is actually an evil person
There
who,
you go.
like who committed crime, like severe crimes against people.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to even say the name because of, but you know what I'm saying. Like I think when you're talking about people like that, but this is what I'm saying: people that have skeletons in their closet. Do you know what I mean? I think there'll be a lot of people that won't shed a tear when there's a lot of people in this world die. But there's a difference between not shedding a tear and celebrating their death. And as I said, for someone who you could talk to, and like I found interest, probably one of the most interesting videos, or like I suppose it was like might have been a TikTok thing, is the guy who looks like he could be trans but he's not, is the Jeffrey. Wait on one sec. I need to find his name. He was like one of the original makeup influencers, Jeffree Star. So
Yeah.
he is a really, like, he wears makeup and fake nails and stuff, and he just went off tap. Yeah, he went off on it and said, "This is you're all being disgusting." And then you had people like Blair White, who's a trans woman who is on the conservative side of things. You had a lot of people that, if he was what people would like to paint him as, would never speak, speak about him as being a great person. I think it should tell you something if you have all these people from all different walks of life saying, that this guy was a great guy and everything like that, and you're the one, and if you're then, as I said, celebrating, whatever you want to call it, happy about his death, you should probably start asking a question going, why? Why would you be acting like that when really no one else is?
Yeah. Yeah. You've seen all the people that lost their jobs over it.
Mm-hmm. And I think the whole thing about, where's their free speech? No one has ever said that free speech is without consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Free speech doesn't mean speak without consequence. And the reality is, especially like I come from a country that doesn't have any free speech rights at all, but your free speech rights are that the government will not punish you or affect you for what you say. Private companies are not the government.
Nope.
If you're a nurse that's doing something like that, you have to sit there and go, "Ooh, what if What if someone comes in, wearing a MAGA hat that's been in a car accident? Are they going to provide the level of care that that person deserves, the same as the person that would come in wearing a Kamala Harris shirt?
Right.
Probably they are, but the question is there. And it's the same as things like, and you only have to look at the type of people that this has been, predominantly happened to. So people in healthcare, people in education, people in I suppose, for lack of a better term, service roles. Even though you can't say without a doubt that these people would be like that to the average person off the street, the companies can go, I don't want to take that risk though. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to take that risk that they're going to do that, because then if for some reason you had a conservative person come into ER, was not given the standard of care that they deserve, and then happened to die, their family then found that video, that person was still employed by the hospital. There's a lot of that escalates.
Right.
And so I think that, again, if you're in that, if as a, you choose on social media whether to press that button or not. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure, like you, I've pressed that button times when I shouldn't have, but I've also not done it to a point where I know that it could affect my job.
Right.
People might not like. I've had different times when I've had 20 people have disappeared off my Facebook friends list.
Mm-hmm.
After I've posted something, it's like, oh well, it is what it is.
Yep.
But these people need to understand that you can say it, and no one's going to come and stop you from saying it. But you have to then be prepared to put up with the consequences.
Right.
And if the consequences are that your employer is going to say, you know what, this person's too much of a risk, or, for example, if you're a business that has a large conservative base, my customers are going to not want to deal with this person in my store.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You're gonna get home.
stuff
It's
like
funny
that.
because a lot of places, I don't know how it works in Australia, but in America, you got to sign a consent for posting stuff on social media. If you ever post the wrong thing, you can be fired for that. You sign a consent for it.
Yeah, no, we have that as well. So there's the reason I don't have my employer listed on on any of my profiles. So everyone knows that I drive garbage trucks. I choose not to promote, and I don't mean promote as in from a financial way, but I choose not to promote who my employer is. The people who need to know who my employer is. The people who don't know who my employer is. And part of the reason I do that is because every companies in Australia have social media policies as well. And if you post things that could bring the company into disrepute, yeah. So I don't have photos in my work uniform. I don't have I would only generally send private photos of my my work vehicle. I'd send it to people, but I don't just put it on my Facebook. And I do that for it's not because I'm scared, but I do that as a respect to the company that I work for. People don't need to know who that is, because my private communications and my public communications have nothing to do with my employer.
Right. And same with mine. If you go look at mine don't tell you where I work.
Yep. And
I hardly.
it's not, I've actually done that for quite a long time. Actually, I think it's pretty much been since I've worked in this industry that I've chosen not to do that, because as you get older, you get wiser, and you just go, you know what? Those two worlds don't need to cross over.
Correct. Yep. And that's exactly it. And I do a lot of these podcasts, so I don't want whatever I say in the podcast to affect my job, basically. Say I
And
put a
but
snippet.
that's where there's that line between, between just saying things completely unfiltered. There is a lot of things that we all think, we had a whole discussion in my family about this recently about, now I've forgotten the term. Intrusive thoughts. There's
Right.
a lot of things that we might choose to communicate at one time or another that we probably shouldn't. But you need to sit there and go, before you press that button, is that the right thing for you to be saying?
Right. A lot of Americans have to look at you guys though. Because what happens if you say the wrong thing? Like what happens if you say something wrong and you post it on TikTok or
So,
Facebook?
and I'm going to say to everyone watching, I didn't actually bring this up with you, but I was going to bring it up. We have just had one of the states here, it's the biggest state in the country, has literally just passed laws about 2 weeks ago. They now have a hate speech law, and it's wild. Like, I mean, it is fucking wild. Basically, so I'm going to read just this one line, and then I don't want to read any more of of it. But it is now a crime in New South Wales to intentionally incite hatred against individuals or groups based on their race. This includes actions that encourage others to hate a person or a group due to their race, which encompass aspects like colour, nationality, ethnicity, descent, or ethno-religious background. This law applies to public actions, including any speech or behaviour that can be seen or heard by others, such as social media posts, speeches, or graffiti. The intent behind this action is crucial, and it must be aimed at stirring up hatred. This doesn't carve out anything for comedians or for jokes or for conversations that you can actually be having just with someone. Say you're sitting at a table at a restaurant, and the penalties are massive. So it's a $11,000 fine, I think, which would probably apply to your first offence,
Right.
or 2 years in jail.
2 years in jail. So
Yeah.
let me ask
And
you
so literally, example. This is an example.
right.
If you turn around and said, say I was sitting beside you at a bus stop. I don't know why we're at a bus stop. I don't know why I picked that. We're sitting beside you at a bus stop, and we're talking about the housing situation in Australia. And I said, this is because we've imported so many people from India. It gives me the shits. I wish they'd just piss off back to India, and that would put our housing crisis back into a more fixable situation.
Right.
If I lived in that state, that would be enough if someone was to turn around and say, hey, this has offended me. That would be enough to get you an $11,000 fine. And if you were caught doing it again, to face up to 2 years in jail.
So let me ask you this. So prison in the United States works, well, in New York anyways. If you get more than a year, that's prison. One up to a year is prison. Before a year is jail. Does it work the same way there?
Yeah, you're talking about like state and federal.
Well, no, it's both. If you get more than a year, you are going to prison. You're not going to jail.
What's the difference? We call it all jail.
Oh, really? Yeah, there's two different things. Like jail's just a place you go and you get locked up for 6 months to a year usually. Prison's actually like this big facility that they move you around the state, and that's where you spend your time.
Yeah, no, we only really have like each state only has like one or two, like the term in Australia is interchangeable. Jail or prison, it's the same thing.
Same.
You are going to be locked up for up to 2 years.
Damn. So you're gonna go. That's so crazy. And like say if I were to come to Australia, I didn't have my passport or nothing. I just came to Australia. What would happen to me in Australia?
Well, that's different though. That's where you're talking about. Now it would depend on if, and this is like obviously the same as me going over there. So I've had to apply. Like I've got my visa to go.
Right.
To come to the US and everything like that. If they made a decision before you got to the country that they didn't want you here, they would just deny your visa. If you did something like that, I would dare say that they would just choose to revoke your visa and deport you.
Right.
They're probably not going to pay to put you in prison here, because like the reality is like prison costs money. Like it costs money to put people in prison, and that's just what it is. They'd probably just turn around and say, we don't want you in the country.
Right.
And that I think you'd find that's pretty similar, most places. Like I think even in America, if you were not someone that wanted to come into the country, sort of they made that decision, either before you got there or when you got there, you would just, your visa would be declined and you'd be put straight back on a plane to come home.
Right.
If you did something while you were over there, you might spend a few days in lockup, but they're probably just going to deport you.
Right. Well, I'm bringing it to like
unless it was a crime against. I think the difference where that and it's same thing sort of here is if it's a crime against a person. So like as in like if you sexually assaulted someone, if you whatever whatever, then you'd probably actually have to serve the time. But if it was sort of like one of these, it's becoming increasingly an issue. If it was one of these thought or speech crimes, I would say you'd just be deported.
right, right. Well, I'm saying more of like so a lot of people in America talk crap about like illegal immigrants being in our country. And I tell some people that I talk to, if you go to other countries, their laws are way stricter than our laws. You know what I'm saying? Like they've had laws like that for a long time. We're just starting to impose that law in our country, you know. And that's why I was curious of if I came there without a passport,
Oh,
and I was illegal.
you'd just be put straight back on a. So you'll never get on a plane without a passport. But if you came here without permission to enter the country,
Mhm.
you'd just be put straight back on a plane home.
Sent back. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
and a lot of people talk crap about America doing it, but other countries do the same thing.
Yep. Rules for thee, but not for me type thing. Yeah. So obviously we have an advantage in Australia, and this is always like the immigration issues that we have in terms of just purely based population. It's not who's coming here, it's a population issue. Um, ours is all legal immigration. Because we're an island.
Right.
So we had an issue many years ago with people going to Indonesia and then getting on these little crappy boats and then coming across to Australia. And again, not blaming those people. They just wanted to get out. They weren't from Indonesia. They were from lots of other places.
Right. Right.
But it was the shortest place that you could get on a boat and come across to Australia.
Yeah.
We don't have that issue anymore. It's just it's a thing. If you come to Australia via means like that now, you will never ever become you'll never get settled here. That's the law is that if you come via illegal means, you will just never be settled here. It doesn't mean that you can't claim like asylum, but you can claim asylum, but you'll be going to another country. You just won't ever be coming to Australia. But yeah, it is funny. It's a really amusing thing that all countries around the world, like, a lot of countries have very strict customs and immigration laws. But when it comes to America, it's like, no, you can't have that. And it's like, what?
Right. That's what I'm
Why?
saying.
Why can't they have that? Why are we allowed to have it? Why is what? And that's the whole thing that's funny with England at the moment, which this discussion is the whole reason why I'm never going to be able to go to England, not with the laws that they, they arrest their own citizens when they fly back into the country. I'm never going to be able to go to England. And I mean that in all seriousness. Like I've told my parents, it's like, I don't post anything really bad online, but it's enough that they wouldn't let me into the country.
Right.
But the whole reason for Brexit was so that they could take control of their immigration again, and they just didn't. Like the people in charge across 3 consecutive governments never did anything with that. So that was their whole argument for leaving the European Union, was because they wanted to have control over their immigration policy and not have it centralized with the European Union.
Right.
And they didn't, after they got Brexit and they left the European Union, they still didn't do anything to control their immigration. So what was the point? They didn't really get anything out of it, to be honest.
Right.
But then you have countries like Poland and Hungary that are like, okay, we're going to participate in the European Union, but we're not just going to let random people walk across the border and just be here.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating because there is countries in Europe that have just gone, no, absolutely not. We will not be doing that. Thank you very much. And as the Poland and Hungary are 2 of those.
Yeah.
Also, for some reason, countries that don't have a lot of crime. I wonder if there's a correlation between that somewhere. And places like Abu Dhabi and the UAE and stuff like that. Again, can't just walk into their borders and go, "Hey, I'm here. I'm just going to do whatever I want."
Right.
I don't think so. Like it's a funny thing that's always been, and this precedes Trump. Goes back to a long, long time. It's always been a controversial thing for some reason, or has been for, like, we'll call it the last 25 years, for America to be able to enforce their borders.
Yeah.
Very funny. Very interesting.
That's one of the
Interesting
funniest
conundrum.
that's one of the funniest things that I see. Looking
Yeah.
at it, it's like, why is these people talking so much crap? There's some countries you'll go to and you'll be arrested and you'll be put in their prisons, and they got nasty prisons, and just because we crossed their border, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
it's
cross their border without permit. You are
well,
asking
yeah,
permission.
right,
Like, and that's the thing. Like, so even I've traveled a lot to Indonesia. Indonesia is like a favorite place of Australians to travel to. You
okay,
still have. You can get on a plane and go there, but if you didn't pre-purchase it, you still have to buy and be approved for a visa. So it's silly, obviously, to buy it when you get there, because they could deny it, but, like, you buy it online before you get on the plane, sort of thing. But I mean, like, you still have to. It's not unlimited. Like, if you are someone who's recently been convicted of crimes and stuff like that, no, go home. Thank you very much.
but that's like
Um,
that's like us going to
so,
Canada. So if we
mhm.
went to Canada and you got a felony, you can't enter Canada. We're not allowed to go.
And it's sort of like, I think you actually can. You need to. It's different visas that you need to apply for if you're actually like, you've got a previous criminal history.
Yeah,
And that's, again, that also makes sense. Like, it makes sense to know and make a common sense judgment on people that are coming into your country.
right,
Like, that is just again, 25 years ago, if you said, do you think we should just let anyone in, or do you think we should be able to vet people when they're coming in?
right. Yeah,
Like, if you choose the first option, that's a little bit crazy. Like,
yeah.
it's just crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. I know, like, because I got a friend that did that committed some crimes, and he tried to go to Canada one day on a vacation and denied right at the border.
But what I'm saying, though, is I think you can. It's the same with people, like, in Australia with criminal convictions. They can go to places, but you have to. You can't just get a standard tourist visa.
Right.
You actually have to get, like, a visa where you go to the consulate and you present yourself, you present your criminal history, and you say, but for the last 15 years, I've been a completely law-abiding, valuable member to society. Here's references, here's the business I own, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then they make a decision based on that information. If you just rock up there and go, "Hey, I'm here," they're going to go, "No, you're not. Goodbye." Like the Peter Griffin, bye, bye.
Yeah.
Just no, get
Get
out.
out of here.
And again, that if you say that, it seems to be, if you say that in a context outside of America, that seems to be a very common sense
Thing.
position to take.
But if you're in America, oh, what do you mean that guy could stay here? What did he do wrong? It's nuts, man. It's the world's crazy.
And it's a very, I think it was a Reagan saying. Now I'm gonna have to look this up because I don't want to get it wrong. Maybe it was actually one. I don't know who said it. It's a particular quote. It was Reagan. I was right. I'm just bringing it up now. Where are we? Yeah, a nation that cannot control its borders is not a nation.
Mhm.
And the reality is, like, every country has different threats. And I'm not talking about like 9/11 type threat. I'm saying that just in general terms, every
Yeah.
nation has different threats to the country. The reality is that the idea of an open borders all around the world, it's a nice idea, but like a lot of things, it just doesn't work in practice.
Right.
There
Right.
is countries that are hostile to Australia, there's countries that are hostile to the US, there's countries that are hostile to China, and vice versa. And you need to be able to have some degree of certainty that the people that you are inviting into your country are going to be there for the right purposes. And I think that's the whole thing with, I've heard it said a few times from different people. They're saying, would you just open your front door quite literally and just say, come on in, come on in, all of you, without worrying about that someone with ill intentions is also going to come
Right.
in? No,
Yeah.
because that's not common sense. Like, it
Right.
doesn't make any sense to do that. So
Yeah, it's funny. People are nuts. So yes. So back to your trip to America or coming to America.
mhm.
um what is so you're coming in 2 weeks for
Yes.
Halloween actually. Yep, for Halloween. Where are you staying? Are you staying where you stayed before or you got a new place?
So I'm actually going out of my comfort zone this time. The comfort zone of Montana is being broken this time. So this time I fly into O'Hare. I fly into LA because you can't fly that far without stopping. But fly into O'Hare. I've got a couple of days in Illinois, a couple of days in St. Louis, and then the majority of my time is back in Montana.
Right.
So I've worked out the other day. I've got, including just after I get back, I'm visiting friends somewhere else in Australia. I've got 13 flights in about a 30-day period.
Right. Wow.
So I'm a literal jet setter.
That's crazy.
I think Greta Thunberg would be very unhappy about my carbon footprint in the next 30 days.
Right. You're going all over the place. Let me see if I'm right on this. Oh, I'm checking something. But yeah, so you're about 12 hours away from us. My location, going to Illinois.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The issue is I had different plans for this trip, but they kind of got all upended. That'll be a story for when I get back.
Right.
Um, I was going to sort of go to about 4 or 5 different places, and it just didn't work out
Yeah.
that way. But if depending on you know um, depending on how this trip all goes, I'll be back again sort of late February ish, I think. And then so I'll be back at least one more time, and I intend to do a little bit more sightseeing, traveling with that.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, I've made a lot of friends over there, all over the country. I'm just going to turn off my camera for 1 sec, but I'm still here.
All
I
right.
just have to go follow my female dog who's just let herself outside.
Okay.
But yeah, so uh, so I intend to do a little bit more of the sort of sightseeing, and visiting people. And obviously when I get over there as well, I'm one of these people that I'm not averse to flying somewhere just for a weekend.
Yes.
So definitely when I get over there permanently, I'll be hitting up a lot of people. And if anyone that is on, the social groups that Sean and I are on that would like to, lend me a sofa for the night, or wants to show me around where they live, please don't be afraid to hit out. I intend on every time I come over, I bring a lot of Australian snacks and stuff with me, but I'm going to bring like a whole suitcase of them when I move. So I'll have plenty of Australian things to bring you in return.
So that's what I was saying. Is one of these times when you come up. That's why I just checked how far away from you are. I want to do a we could do a live in person interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love that.
So that'd be cool. You know what I'm saying? That way you get to meet in live, and then you know what I'm saying. Like we'll set something up so it's like legit.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's so much I want to do. And as I said, this is where, look, while my parents are, are still with us, the reality is my PTO is going to be spent back in Australia, probably. But in terms of like just going for play, as I said, I'm happy to jump on a plane and just go somewhere for a weekend, leave somewhere on a Friday night, come back on a Sunday, Sunday afternoon. I do that a lot here in Australia, even because, everywhere is like my parents, live like an 8-hour drive from where I live. Sometimes I drive there and fly back, or vice versa. But the reality is, if you want to, it's air travel is just part of what I've gotten used to, and it's to get anywhere. It's I think it seems to be from people I've spoken to that either you guys are very akin to air travel or you're just completely not. One of my friends in Montana comes from Arizona, and I was like, "Oh, so you fly?" And he's, "No, drive." And it's like, "What? Why? Why do you drive that? Why don't you just fly? Like, you can fly there, But that's just what they're accustomed to, and it's got nothing to do. It's not a financial thing. It's just that they're more comfortable driving. I'm one of those people. Like 8 hours is enough for me. Like I have to really want to drive somewhere for 8 hours rather than just get on a plane and
And the
fly.
funniest part about it is, what do you do for a living?
Drive. And that's the thing is, I hate driving. Like, as in, I hate it as in doing it for no reason. People that just go for a drive. I'm not one of. I used to be one of those people. I'm not one of those people anymore.
Hell no, I hate driving now. What? I gotta do it for work.
Yeah, it's just no. Yeah, it's just not one of those things. And look, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that I don't like going in the car or anything like that. It's just I'm not one of those people that's just like, let's go for a drive. I have to have somewhere in mind to be going with,
Yeah. Or somebody else driving, and I'll just ride along.
Yeah, because that's good option as well.
Yeah, because
do you wear out the footwell though?
Yeah,
pushing the imaginary brake.
Yeah. remember, we have residential trucks that drive from both sides. So
yeah, no. But if you're in a car though, you've still got an imaginary brake.
Yeah, that's
going, oh my god, stop!
So you think that you're stopping? No. Oh, okay, it's not me. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'd be cool to do an in-person interview though. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And look, there's plenty of opportunity to do all that sort of stuff. I've got in my mind, like I've got a list of all these different places I want to go. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to is my best friend wants to have her 50th birthday, which is not next year, it's the year after, in Vegas. And so we've already planned this whole trip out. My parents are going to come there. My parents know her and her husband really well as well. Like, we've holidayed all together a few times. But like stuff like that, I'm looking forward to, even though it's like 2 years away. I'm like crazy looking forward to that. But I've got this whole list of, and most of it is probably, some people would either think it's really cool or it's really kind of tacky, touristy. So one of the things I want to do, even though I am not a fishing person at all, by any measure am I a fishing person, but I want to go stay at the Bass Pro Pyramid in Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No interested in fishing at all, but I still want to go, because there is nothing like that in it. That's a really American thing,
Yes.
I want to go to Knott's Berry Farm, and I've got, like, as I said, I've got like a zillion things that I want to do.
Yeah.
But there, I've also got, I can just go do them. It's very different when you're over there to be able to just go and do it. So, but I'm very I don't want to say I'm very nervous, but I'm a bit nervous because obviously the driving I've done so far has all been in Montana, and Montana's really small and it's not a lot of traffic. And I am driving in Illinois and St. Louis. So it's going to be
Yeah.
I'm
You're
no, I'm not.
gonna-
I'm only staying the first night in Chicago, and it's not even really Chicago. I'm staying near the airport, because I'll have been in the air for like 17 and a half hours, so I don't want to be dry. I want to pick up the car and go to a hotel and sleep. But after that, yeah, I'm going. I'm going to drive there, and I'm driving in St. Louis as well. So
Right.
yeah,
How are you with
a
the
little
F
bit
word?
nervous. But, pardon?
How are you with the F word?
Fruit.
You'll be using that a lot.
Fabergé egg.
Yeah.
Um,
You'll be using that
yeah.
word a lot.
Well. I use that word multiple times a day now, as it is.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we don't have like a speaker on the outside of our truck. I don't think any of us would have a job for more than about 35 minutes. Because yeah, it's people's ability or lack thereof on the road tend to invoke that word a lot.
Right. And then when you come here, you're almost have a job set up. You don't
Yeah,
got
so
nothing, but
well, multiple.
oh really?
No different. Look, it's the same in Australia. Is if you can do this job, you can do it
Anywhere.
well. You can do it without damaging stuff. We're not a dime a dozen. And that's the thing is people think that what we do versus the reality of what we do, it's not a job everyone can do. It's not a job everyone wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that no different to here, everyone I've spoken to is the same, that they're screaming out for ready trained drivers.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same here. You can I can go and walk into 2 or 3 different companies here, and have a job the next day.
Right.
I think companies need to remember that a little bit.
They do. They do.
There's always some issues where I think companies need to just remember, and it's not being vindictive, and it's not about going, well, I'm gonna get you for all I can get you for. I think though it's just a respect thing. I think they need to remember that the whole process of what we do stops without the drivers.
Mhm.
It's not to say that other parts of the business aren't equally important, but we are, if we're not picking it up, there's nothing to go to the transfer station. There's nothing to go to the landfill.
Yep.
If we're not picking it up, you can sell a dumpster, but if no one picks it up, you
What
don't
they gonna
generate
do?
any money from it.
Yeah. People gonna have trash in their front yard.
Yeah. I'm not talking about from the public's point of view. That's another whole story.
Yeah.
But I mean, from a company point of view, the
Right.
reality is if the drivers aren't doing their job, the rest of the machine stops working.
Correct. Yep. And you got a company that's actually helping you move up here, right? Like they're gonna help with your visa and stuff like that.
Hopefully. Hopefully. So yeah, again, it's it's all still up in the air a little bit at the moment. But we've got options, and we have to work out what puzzle piece is going to fit.
So are you looking when you get here to get I know you gotta wait some time, but to like get your citizenship, so you're like an American citizen completely?
Yeah. So what will happen is it depends on which sort of avenue exactly we go down. But the reality is that after a certain amount of time, you can apply for your citizenship. You can apply for the citizenship, and then obviously you have to, go through that process. And it's just it's time more than anything else. But I fit all the prerequisites, which is important. So,
Right.
that's at the end of the day, it's not. I want to do it the right way. That's the
Right.
short answer is I want to do it the right way. I have no interest in doing it the wrong way. And I just have to follow the process as it is.
Right. I had a friend that came here from another country too, and he actually ended up getting his citizenship. It took him 10 years, but he ended up
Yep.
getting it. And he was super
Was that
happy.
because he delayed doing that though?
It was on him.
Or
It was on him.
yeah. and that's the thing is we have a lot of people here. So a lot of probably the biggest one in Australia is Kiwis. So New Zealanders often never get their citizenship here, and that's by choice. They're very New Zealand has a lot of issues. I was actually just reading an article while I was waiting for you about how they've had a huge amount of people leave New Zealand, like more than have moved to New Zealand.
Right.
Theirs is predominantly a lot of economic issues in New Zealand, but Kiwis often won't do it because they've got a really strong tie to their country, so that it excludes them from certain things in Australia by not having it. But a lot of them will never take Australian citizenship.
Right. That's
So
crazy.
they can come. They can come and we have like a lot of bilateral things where they can just come and work here. They have to get a visa, but they can come and work here indefinitely. But they're not entitled to some of the government programs and stuff. Like I'm not talking about like welfare, but like healthcare and stuff like that. They've got a few restrictions on that. If they became a citizen, those restrictions would go away, but they quite often choose not to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's what my friend used to do. Like, so every 2 years, I believe he had to go and renew his visa, and then he just
Yep.
got tired of it, and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go take the test. He went and took the test, passed it, and became an American citizen. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. That's really
Oh,
good.
and look, it should be something. It should be something that you want to do for all the right reasons. And I think that's probably one of the things where I'm trying to think of the way to sort of put it is that especially to become a US citizen is very different because obviously there is welfare programs in the US, but they're far I'm trying to think of how to sort of put this. They're not as generous, and I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean that in a sensible way. So your reason for wanting to become a US citizen is more than anything is because you want to become a US citizen.
Right.
In a lot of countries, people's reason for wanting to become a citizen is to take advantage. And again, I don't mean that necessarily in a negative way, but they want to take advantage of the package that is becoming a citizen of that country. The becoming a citizen in the US is about wanting to be part of the country more so than what can I get from the government by doing this process. And I think that's kind of cool that you're wanting to do that for pretty much, I'll call it even bragging rights of saying that I am now, I am a US citizen now. And I think that's kind of cool that that's your main motivating factor for wanting to do that is just for the bragging rights.
Right. For sure. Yep. So, yeah, but I know that you got something to do. So, you're gonna come back on though, right?
Absolutely.
We'll bring you
So
back on.
maybe a week or so after I get back. I probably need the first week to recover.
That long trip.
Just the thing is, it's so funny because I leave I leave Sydney on a Tuesday morning, and I get there Tuesday morning. Because of the time difference, where effectively you're traveling backwards across the date line. So I get there on the same day. So the 15-hour flight between Sydney and LA. I'll just bring up my. I want to actually tell you the times because it's funny. But yeah, but coming back, I leave there on Saturday and I don't get back till Monday morning.
Crazy.
So it's the going over there is fantastic. The coming back is not amazing. It's kind of this. It's for Australians. Obviously, anywhere we go is a long distance. Like my parents just got back from Europe. They about 8 weeks or so ago, and they spent 31 hours in the air both directions. So 31 hours to get to Europe and 31 hours to get back.
Wow. Isn't Europe
It's
closer than?
insane.
Isn't Europe closer than?
No. Europe's a lot further. So we have obviously non-stop. We have non-stop flights to LA, San Francisco, Dallas, and They have nonstop from Auckland in New Zealand to New York. So we can fly almost anywhere. We can fly to Chicago, but they tend not to do it. They've tried it at different times. It's not been a popular enough route to do it. But Dallas is they do fly direct to Dallas. So nonstop from Melbourne or Sydney to Dallas is about 16 and a half hours, 16, 17 hours. So it is literally double the time to go to Europe, pretty much. It's minimum to Europe's about 24 hours in the air. Obviously, you do have to stop. They are introducing from next year, Qantas will fly direct to Europe from Australia, and it's going to be 22 hours non-stop. So you're in the plane for literally, almost an entire day. So I leave Sydney at 10 in the morning. I get to LA at 6 a.m. the same day. So it's a 13 hours and 50 minutes flight. And then I've got a couple of hours before I go to Chicago. I get to Chicago early afternoon. But when I leave, coming home, I leave LA at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, and I get back at 8 a.m. Monday morning. So I basically lose like a day and a half, like completely just disappears.
So basically, when you come here, you stay the same age for 2 days. But when you go there, you age 2 days.
If you had an early morning birthday, well, you could have. I think some of the airlines fly out like at about lunchtime, so you could have a birthday party in the morning, and then you could have another birthday party when you get to the US. I'm going to keep that in mind, actually.
Are you going to come over on your birthday?
Yeah. Whereas if you leave, if you're going home and you don't have a birthday party in the US, by the time you get back to Australia, your birthday's been 2 days, it's gone already.
That's true. That's true.
Like, no birthday for you. It's like people who have their birthday late, like in the middle to late December. Right. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't get anything for your birthday. We'll just give you a combined Christmas and birthday gift.
Don't fly over on Christmas, buddy. Don't fly back on Christmas, I say. You'll miss it.
Yeah, that's right. Don't fly Christmas Eve from America back to Australia, because by the time you get to Australia, it'll already be the 27th of December.
Or New Year's. You can miss New Year's.
Yeah, that's
right. But yeah,
party.
Definitely send me videos and I'll post them too for you. We'll do like a little video.
Yeah, I will. I'll send you some photos of the trip from back in the end of June if you want to put them up as well. So right. I don't take very exciting photos, but I take photos of stuff that I genuinely find fascinating. The some of the sunsets that I saw in Montana were just the most stunning I've ever seen. I think the geography of Montana is, and I think states like Wyoming and stuff are equally as amazing. But just the geography of Montana is just beautiful.
Right. Yeah, so just send me some of them. I'll post it, and then I'll try to do like a wrap up of everything we've done and put it together. Yeah. So on your move, when you actually move here and stuff like that, and we'll add videos and all that stuff to it. So it'll make it really interesting. It's like your move is being filmed.
You're taking like a diary of it.
Yeah, it'll be like a documentary of your life. And you moved over.
Documentary no one will watch. Not a Netflix best, not Netflix top 5.
That's where I'm posting it on Netflix. But yeah, I mean, you're welcome back anytime. If you want to just one day shoot and get on, just let me know, and if I'm available, we'll throw this back up and get on.
No problems. Hopefully, it's interesting to someone other than yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely interesting. So people like watching you. So that's why you're back.
Glad to hear.
Yeah. Everybody be good out there. Peace.
Yep. Look after yourselves.